realignment cycle has cooled down, and that's what the Pac-12 wanted. It's not what the Big 12 wanted, but it is what the Pac-12 wanted, so that members might not make any panic moves. They wanted things to settle down. They wanted the temperature in the room to go down. That is what has happened. Now, that doesn't guarantee anything, but it certainly improves the Pac-12's odds of holding together. And now we have this story from Tuesday morning from who else? John Wilner, that the University of California System's Board of Regents is going to meet on July 21st to discuss UCLA's exit. Now, I don't think this is going to block UCLA's move. I think most people would say there's nothing that can be done at this point. If the internal power players within the UC system had wanted to stop this, they would have, or at least they would have mounted a lot more resistance. But that having been said, is there a plot twist? Is there a soap operatic turn in store for us? You never fully know. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that closed session on July 21st.
Matt, to your first point, there does seem to be a bit of a settling in where there was a frantic pace of rumors and possibilities just off of the USC UCLA move that, the Big Ten is going to run and tear up half of the ACC or continue its purge of the Pac-12. And what's the SEC going to do to counter? And there's been some rumblings of some discussions that, between the SEC and the Big Ten, they've seen just about all the value that they can see out there outside of Notre Dame. And maybe there's going to be a settling at 16 or just above that.
I think the best way to look at it, Mark, is we're going to see the landscape settle for the next 3 years. But long term, I don't. Like in 2025, when the 12-year playoff deal expires, what else happens in 2025? Notre Dame's television deal with NBC, that contract expires. So Notre Dame would then renegotiate that particular deal. Also in 3 years, any ACC school looking to get out of the conference, the grant of rights, waiting 3 years, the exit fees attached to getting out of the ACC would be much less. So I think the best way to view it is, for the next 2-3 years, you're not going to see another significant piece of the chessboard change, most likely, primarily because the Big Ten's waiting on Notre Dame as the first domino, and I don't think Notre Dame's going to leave its independent status behind. I think Notre Dame likes being an independent. So if Notre Dame remains static in place, then the other chess moves, they're just going to have to wait. And I think that 2025, with the end of the current playoff deal, and of course, you know that the SEC and the Big Ten in their expanded formats, their expanded sizes, they're going to want all the at-large bids they can get from a playoff, which means that the 2026 and beyond postseason format is going to have at least 12 teams, and that probably will be the trigger that unleashes another fresh series of moves. But so again, I was wrong in thinking that Oregon and Washington were going to immediately go to the Big Ten. I was wrong. All right. I can just admit that. So we do seem to be in a situation where nothing else of really seismic significance or importance is going to happen in the near term. But after 2025, I think that some pretty big changes are coming around the bend. But, which ones and, which schools are going to move where, that's the unknown. But we are going to see, I think, some significant movements later in the decade.